And welcome in, everyone, to another edition of the BIS Podcast, broadcasting live on the Marvin Network, where our goal is to bring you updates in local technology and also local government updates as well. And we try to mix in a little bit of fun in there. And on today's podcast, we have my colleague Stoney Ward joining us today. Stoney, how you doing, sir?
Good, Josh. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine. Is this the first time I think we've had you on the podcast?
You know what? There is a first time for everything, and it is the first time I've been on a podcast.
It is the first time you've ever been on a pod. Oh man, I don't know, folks. If you don't know, which I know probably a lot of people do know Stoney out there, but if you don't, you're in a whirlwind. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't know what this man is going to say coming on today. So we had to vet him a couple of times before we just brought him on.
Well, all I can say is bless those folks' ears because there's no telling what I'm going to say today.
Oh no, we're gonna have to put a disclaimer when we release this one out there. But hey, man, it's great to have you on the podcast. And on today's episode, we're gonna be talking about site changes and new services coming to BIS. So Stoney, I know this is something that you've been kind of dealing with, over the last couple of months here at BIS. Again, me and Stoney are partners when we come to sales, but Stoney's been kind of taking the role of learning the new services, and he's got some ones that he's going to be introducing us today here that we're coming out with for BIS over the next couple of months. So Stoney, tell me, what are some new things that are coming to BIS site services?
Well, Josh, we've got kind of a slew of new services coming out that BIS is getting out in front of and wanting to provide to our clients and our customers. One of the biggest services that we've got currently out ahead of everything else at this point is Deed AI. Deed AI is a service that basically goes in and takes a deed, and the AI side of it will read that deed for the clients when they're going in and trying to pull the needed information out of a deed. It drastically accelerates the time spent on a deed when they're trying to get through the process of it. It'll go in and extract all the information that's needed for the employee. That way they're not spending near as much time on that deed. It cuts it by probably 90%. On one of the other services that we're going to be bringing forth, much like Deed AI, is Forms AI. What Forms AI is going to do is it's going to basically translate any new form that you have or any current form that you have within your office to where somebody can bring that form in, submit the form, and the AI portion of our program will read it. And much like Deed AI, it will extract the information needed out of the form and go ahead and push it into your CAMA system or system that you have already on board. We have the ADA compliance that is going out to our customers onto their website. We know on the federal level for ADA compliance, they have already gone to it being a mandatory item on any governmental website on the federal side. It is not a mandate yet, but it is coming to the state side. We expect it within the next, couple of years that it may hit for the statewide for ADA compliance. And what that is it produces an icon onto our clients' websites to where anybody with any kind of ADA recognized disability can go on there and they can change the website to fit their needs. It doesn't change the actual website on face value. It just changes it to their needs to meet the person with the ADA issues or disability, and makes it to where they can go on there and have a smooth process on navigating through that website. One of the other major things that we're wanting to offer for our clients and that we've come up with is cybersecurity solutions. So cybersecurity solutions is essentially another bigger, broader line of protection for any of our customers, any of the CADs, any of the tax offices, anybody that we represent or take care of. And what it is it essentially goes in there and creates another fortress that protects the CAD from outside infiltration, from anybody trying to hack into a CAD or a tax office. As we've seen in the news, and you've seen and probably heard, there's been several, agencies, offices that have been attacked, and with some success, some of these hackers have managed to get into their system and cause a lot of havoc. Um, it is one of the absolute toughest crimes to investigate. I can say that just from my past experiences in being in law enforcement. Cybersecurity is at the very top of the list on crime right now, and it is very much so hard to track down and gain a conviction. And they know this. These folks that are out there doing this know this. So any added level of security that you can provide for your office or for your CAD, cybersecurity solutions is definitely the way to go. And it's going to, what that cybersecurity solutions does is it protects your hardware. So anything within your office that sends or receives information in and out of your office, it adds that extra layer of protection. It's always going to, double check, double authenticate anything that's going in and out of the office. Where it's also going to test your agency's ability, and test your sites, test everything that you've got inside of your CAD or your tax office or your office for that matter. But it's going to do internal and external penetration testing. It's going to detect changes with AI. As I said before, it's going to do dark web monitoring, also endpoint detection and response, critical IT change detection. So anything that it feels like is not right, it's going to try to detect that and alert. Cybersecurity training, that's what we're going to offer along with this. Two-factor authentication is something that it'll definitely do, and 24/7 threat monitoring. So the cybersecurity, it's going to take, and it puts a subscription per workstation or as a project aimed at fortifying your defense and protecting your digital assets against evolving threats, because cybersecurity is nothing that's going away anytime soon. As a matter of fact, it's gaining ground all over the place. The most recent, I guess, offering that we've got coming up, it should be coming out anytime now, is our active shooter response training. So, in today's world, we never know, Josh, what's going to walk through the door at a tax office or at a CAD. And it can get pretty nerve-wracking when folks walk in and they start acting a little bit different, or something's just not right, or it makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. So what we're doing here at BIS is we're trying to get ahead of that, and we want our clients, our people, our customers to be protected. And so one thing that we have stepped forward with doing is creating a comprehensive training program that equips our CADS teams with the knowledge and skills they need to respond effectively in an active shooter situation. And I never thought I'd have to say something like this. And, even with churches today, you got to have armed security in there. Well, just about any governmental office or anything that deals with people's money, for that matter, you almost have to have that extra line of security. And so we wanted to get out ahead of it and create a solution for our CADs and for our customers, because at the end of the day, you folks are more than just a number to BIS. You're a part of our family. So if we can do some of these trainings and get you squared away and teach you how to recognize warning signs, and learn to identify the potential threats before they escalate. We want to help you develop situational awareness, cultivate the ability to stay alert and be prepared all the time, and implement survival strategies. Master evacuation routes to get the people out of the building if something were to go south or go bad. Sheltering in place or other critical survival tactics, and then engaging the threat. How to take the threat and remove the threat, so that you're protecting the people within your office. It's something that we're going to try to teach. First aid. If something was to happen, heaven forbid, inside of your office, we want our customers to have the ability to really get in there and provide first aid to any critically wounded person, as I said before, heaven forbid. So those are a lot of the new things that BIS is, introducing and coming up, and some of the newer services um, that we are offering here from BIS.
And Stoney, one thing I want to revisit from that, again, you explained it so well, but I want to go back to the active shooter training that you just mentioned. That is so important, as you said, because in today's world, you just don't know. And now it seems like, everyone should have that training. How did that kind of come about a little bit? And what are we doing here at BIS for any potential, customers or even current clients? How can they get that training, or what's the process they need to do in scheduling that training?
So, the way it came about, Josh, was we, as I've stated before, most of my CAD family and some of our tax family knows that, I left a 20-year career with law enforcement after retiring, and I came to BIS, and as I started going into some of these CADs and seeing some of the stuff, and then seeing how these CADs are set up, and watching the interactions between the staff to everyday citizen, I just kind of started putting some things together, and I've seen a few folks, some of the staff in these CADs having to deal with some pretty irate customers. And what that did for me with the way my mindset is it created a thought process of, hey, what do these folks do if somebody comes in here and they're not, you know, the most friendly? What do our CADs do? What do our customers do if they get somebody inside their office, inside their building, that is just posing a great threat to them? What are they going to do? How are they going to get out of there? What's their evacuation routes? And so as I started looking at that, Josh, it just kind of, I don't want to say the word bugged me, but it bothered me, because I don't, like to see, um, innocent people that are just doing their jobs be targeted for just doing their jobs. And the CADs, the tax offices, that the customers that we serve, it falls right in line with people doing their job. And then you have, an everyday citizen that may disagree with, an appraisal value or what have you, come in and try to take it out on these folks. And so when I saw that, and I started kind of thinking, I'm like, I wonder if they receive training on, a possible active shooter, and what would their response be? So as I dug into it a little bit more, I approached our admin team here at BIS, and I brought up the idea of active shooter training. I even talked to several folks from some of the CADs that we are that are part of our family, and pick their brain on it, ask them, got their advice, and asked them if they felt like it would be something they would be interested in if BIS offered that as a service. And Josh, out of everybody that I spoke to, it was an overwhelming yes from all of them, because you could tell that they believe in the protection of their staff. They believe in the protection of themselves. They believe in having, proactive measures in place to keep their staff and what is their family protected. And that in and of itself, Josh, spoke the world to me, because they were prepared. They're ready to do what it takes to make sure that their team is safe. And I know that our our admin team is probably fixing to push this out to start getting people signed up for the summer, and get some of these trainings under their belt for these CADs. And the way they're going to do that is when it's sent out, they're going to have a scheduling form at the bottom of the MailChimp that'll go out, and people will be able to get on that schedule form and fill out the needed information, and we will get them on the books for that training. And as far as the instructors go for that training, one thing that I didn't get to do, I won't get to do because I've got enough on my plate already, is actually go and attend and provide the training. But the people that will be providing that training are ex-military, they're current law enforcement officers. Um, the particular guy that they'll be dealing with ran the SWAT team at the agency that I worked for previously. Obviously, he was a Marine, and he's going to have a tactical medic there that was also part of that SWAT team. And these two gentlemen will go in, they will teach the class on behalf of BIS. And they're not only going to show you how to react to an active shooter, but they're also going to show you how to apply tourniquets and provide, first aid if something, heaven forbid, anything happens. So, Josh, do I think it's one of those trainings and services that everybody should go through? 100% I do. Because it's not, and unfortunately, it's not if you're going to need it, it's when you're going to need it. And if our family out there that's dealing with the with the general public day in and day out, if we can do something to get them squared away and get them the training they need to save each other, to save a life, then it was well worth it for us.
No, absolutely, Stoney. Again, it's one of those cases that we hope never happens, but in today's world, what we've seen, at least just over the last couple of years, the training, just to have the training and to be prepared. Again, we hope the day will never come, but just to have that training in your back pocket will help you 100% down the line, just in case if it ever does happen. Again, we hope it never does, but we always want you to have that in your back pocket just in the offshore chance of it. And Stoney, you mentioned again you have over 20 years in law enforcement, and one of the things we're doing here at BIS is again, mainly as we started out as a company, our main clients were appraisal districts. We ventured off now into tax offices and even going into counties. And so one of the things we're looking at, and for you, Stoney, being in law enforcement, and one of our new targets at BIS are law enforcement offices and also ESDs as well. What is kind of the, if you can think about your time in law enforcement, some of the things you might need or were hoping or looking to need that would kind of apply to those offices?
Josh, to answer that question, I definitely, bar none, outside of the active shooter training that we just went over, but bar none, the GIS mapping, the GIS services within BIS would have been drastically important for us to be able to use. When I first started in law enforcement, we would have never thought that we would have had access today back then to what we've got today. I'm sorry. And having GIS services and being able to lay out a map, not just for, criminal issues, but, for any catastrophic events, a tornado, up here in the North Texas area where we're from, Josh, we deal with tornadoes more than anything. Down south, to our folks that are, right around the Gulf of Mexico, they're dealing with hurricanes. So being able to, as a law enforcement agency or any agency or any county agency for that matter, being able to sit down and look at a map overview and essentially be able to trace the path of a tornado or look at the major affected areas that a hurricane could cause, whatever kind of catastrophic event that occurs, the GIS mapping side of everything would have been huge for us. And, I encourage any county or anybody that's in, the public service side of it, to be able to go in there and look at a map of an entire affected area and coordinate with other agencies, other services within cities, other services within counties, to get people, into certain locations. I mean, the GIS side of what we offer from BIS would be huge for any agency to utilize for mapping purposes. On the criminal side of it, Josh, I mean, search warrants, writing up search warrants. When you write a search warrant, it's got to be very detailed as to who, what, when, where, why, and how. The descriptions have got to be on point of, a description of the house, any vehicles that are sitting in the driveway. I mean, search warrants are very, very particular in the way you write them. And to have an overview of what a house looks like and the front portions of a house, the A, B, C, and D sides of a house. That's basically north, south, east, and west sides of a house. Counting windows, looking at entry, and exit ports of a residence. I mean, and then where you're stationing officers. What street am I stationing this officer on? Where do I need to have my staff? When we set up on the house. I mean, Josh, that GIS mapping would pay for itself the first time you used it on any kind of interaction that you had involving either one of those two scenarios, for sure.
Absolutely, Stoney. And you've really done a great job today in covering, some of the new services we're rolling out here at BIS. But again, those last two mentions the active shooter training, and also, as you mentioned, for law enforcement, even those ESDs, the GIS services we offer here at BIS, they're valuable assets, we believe, that our current clients or even potential clients can use out there. And again, if you like any information on any of these services that we've mentioned here today, please email us, sales@bisconsultants.com. You can contact me or Stoney or even Sterling or Vanessa, the sales team, and we can get you that information and even get you to the right people to explain more about what those services offer. Again, our phone number is 800-247-9045. Well, Stoney, I appreciate you being on today, man. Is there anything that we need to cover before we sign it off today?
The only other thing I'd add to that is I think that some of the ISDs may feel like they, let's go back to the catastrophic event of a tornado or something, to where, there's got to be a mass evacuation of people. An ISD is so critical in that aspect of planning. Because what do ISDs have? They have buses. What can buses do? They can move large amounts of people in a very quick time. And so, with one of the agencies I worked for in the past, our ISD was part of our emergency planning. So we would have them come in and work the exercises with us. We did usually 1 to 2 a year for sure. And the mapping alone for the GIS and the map overlays that we were able to put together and talk through with the ISD staff on how to get people, moved and how to get large amounts of people moved quickly. It always worked hand in hand with everything we were doing. And you really, really, really have to come together as a team in any kind of event that affects a large amount of people. And it could be an active shooter in a at a sporting event. It could be somebody doing something that they shouldn't be doing at a concert. I mean, in today's world, you just don't know what you're walking into. And I'm not saying any of this, Josh, to scare anybody. I want our folks to be aware of their surroundings. And when they go and they have a good time, by God, if I can be standing next to them having a good time, I want to have that good time with them for sure. But just situational awareness and being prepared. And if you've got some of these tools at your fingertips and you can use them, and BIS can help you get to that point, then we're all on board 100%.
No, absolutely, Stoney. Again, if you'd like any information on the services that Stoney has mentioned today, please contact us, sales@bisconsultants.com, or even give us a call and someone will be there to answer for you and explain those services. Again, we can also make sure that if you need more information, we can get you to the people that work here at BIS who deal with those services on a daily basis, and they can get you that more detailed information that you need. Again, our phone number, 800-247-9045. Well, Stoney, I appreciate you being on the podcast today, man. And hey, I can say that we didn't have to vet anything today, and thank you for watching yourself. I do appreciate that part. I know our superiors might appreciate that part.
Well, Josh, you gave me some hard line, questions, and you were talking to me about something I'm very passionate about, so I probably got off on my soapbox a little bit more than I should have, but maybe the next one I'll be able to squeeze in a few jokes here and there and cut up with you a little bit more, buddy.
Well, hey man, I do appreciate you joining us today, and I can't wait till next time.
Me too, Josh. I appreciate you, buddy.
Hey, no problem at all, Stoney. And thank you so much for listening to another edition of the BIS Podcast. We've been broadcasting live on the Marvin Network. That's Stoney Ward. I'm Josh Green. And until next time, so long and goodbye.